Hey, good morning. I've seen a lot of people on the road in the last couple of weeks and they've really enjoyed looking at my garden and they've complimented me in the stores when I see them. Even some old friends I've seen around town, they've asked me how to get a garden started. Obviously what I have here behind me is taking a long time. So I wanted to just make a video of how to get started really, really simple. I think the number one mistake that people make is growing at the wrong time of year. You're in Florida. It's a really hard area to grow in when it's hot, and the rain is just going to bring in all types of problems. So I had a friend, Tony. He's down in Riverview, Florida, and he says I can't get anything to grow and been having a hard time. So what I would start with, Tony, is number one, check out your growing zone. So I would say maybe you might be in 10. I'll have to look that up. But I would imagine you would probably have to start planting September-ish, October-ish. You're going to get some good time to grow plants before the frost. Number two mistake with gardening is not developing your soil. So when I develop my soil, I use compost, I use some vermiculite, and then I use peat moss. They all have to be in equal parts. If you have a bigger garden, you want to use a 5-gallon bucket. I'm just using a small pot to show you. And then you mix it all together and it creates basically your own potting soil. So at the bottom of the fabric pots or your garden bed, you want to add food scraps. I'm cutting up little pieces of tomato, some cardboard, different leaves and scraps from the kitchen, and then adding just some composted eggshells and some grass clippings, and you mix that all in at the bottom of your pot. So this could be in your fabric pot, your raised bed, or even in ground. And then you add all the nice soil to the top. You really have to understand the soil and how to feed it and how to get life into the soil. If your soil is dry and it just looks like it's not holding water, it probably doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. And the plant is going to suffer. And you have to really get on a schedule of watering, fertilizing, pest control maintenance. It's a full-time job. It has to be something that you're in love with. It has to be something that you enjoy doing. Number three, spacing. You have to have the right amount of space for each plant. So spacing is super important. You can't put a bunch of plants that need to grow really large next to each other. And it's so easy to do that because when you plant the plant in the ground, it's small. So you're like, oh, I have a lot of room here. I'm going to plant 6 zucchini plants. Well, a zucchini plant needs at least 4 square feet to grow. I mean, look at this. Look at this zucchini plant here. Look how big it is. This is only one zucchini plant. It's enormous. And you have to think, this is going to make very large vegetables, so it needs a lot of water, it needs a lot of energy, it needs a lot of food, it needs a lot of space. You can look at square foot gardening, and when you have a raised bed, always try to do it in square feet so you know how many square feet you have in your bed. So what I would recommend is, if you're just starting off, you can use these fabric pots. They're very easy to move around and maneuver. So for right now, in June, what you should do is start developing your soil. And what I mean by that is, when I have a season, so when all this stuff starts dying off right now, I'm going to start chopping it off at the base, and I'm going to leave the beds empty over the summer, and I'm going to mix in food scraps, I'm going to mix in all the extra plant waste that I chop down, different leaves, branches, cardboard. I'm going to mix it all up, and then I'm going to cover it in hay, and that's going to keep the weeds out, and it's going to really compost itself over the next 3 months. So I probably won't plant in them until about September. And what I do is I start my seedlings in around late August in the little greenhouse that I have here. If you're just starting out, you don't want to start from seed. Get yourself a couple plants from Home Depot or Lowe's that look very healthy, that have no diseases, and you'll know if it has disease because it has little black spots on it or the leaves are yellowing. Find a really nice healthy plant and start from established plants. seeds they have their own complications. You need to learn a whole bunch of things about starting seeds and having proper lighting and heating and how to feed them and getting the proper soil, and get those all started around September and October. And just learn how to maintain those maybe 6 to 8 plants. Once you start learning how to maintain the plants and decide if this is something you really want to do, you can start expanding and get more fabric pots and still build your garden. Then you can decide if you want to move into a raised bed, and then you could start building your raised beds and then start establishing the soil just like you did in the fabric pots.